Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Hannah. I am going to be showing you how to turn your drawings into a digital version for your tattoos so that we can print them out on tattoo paper. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our proper file is on our desktop. So right now I'm going to be using this file that's called Scan2, but this is Caden's from 5th Hour. I'm going to be using his as an example today, but you need to make sure that you are downloading your file or somehow getting your file onto a desktop. The first thing you're going to do then, once you have your file, is you're going to look for Photoshop Creative Cloud. There's a couple ways to do that. Sometimes it's already down in the dock. It looks like a dark blue square with a light blue border around it. So it's going to look like that. I can search for it a couple different ways. The quickest, easiest way is to go up to the top and look in the little search thing. If I type in Photoshop CC, it's going to look something like this. Adobe Photoshop Creative Cloud 2018. Double click it. It's going to open. It's going to look like this when it opens. It's going to look like this when it's open. Now, I can close this out for a second, and I'll show you why. If I take the scan or my image and I take it and I just drop it right into Photoshop, it'll open it the way that we need it to. Looks perfect, just like this. Now I can tell that it needs to be, the orientation needs to be changed. Don't worry about that right now. We're going to do that in just a little bit. So right now, all we're focused on in Photoshop is we're going to try to get it where there's no background white color, because most of you are going to want to make sure that your picture prints clear on the tattoo paper and that it doesn't have white showing up. Now, Caden's is a weird example though, because he actually does want the moon to be white in the background. So he's going to still follow the same instructions, but I'm going to do something special on his file separately that will make sure that that blue stays, or that white stays and shows up in his final print. Okay, so the first thing that you do when you open Photoshop, we are going to try to get rid of that background white color, okay? So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the top, and I'm going to, well actually first I'm going to go over here to my dock over here on the side, my little panel right here. I'm going to just select my picture, making sure that my picture's selected. Hard to tell that it is, but if I look at this layer down here, it's selected. I'm going to go to Select. I'm going to go to Color Range, okay? Now this is interesting. So I want to pick a color. I want to pick the white color. So if I use this eyedropper tool and just click over here, you can see that it's selected everything that's white in the picture. That's perfect. I'm going to hit OK, and it should give you the dancing ants anywhere where that white is showing up. Now, I want to delete the background. So before I do that though, I'm going to double click this layer over here where there's this little lock thing. If I just double click it anywhere, it's going to ask me to name this new layer and everything. Don't worry about naming it. I'm just going to hit OK. And now I should be able to click back on it, and I should be able to delete it. And when I delete it, you'll see the little checker marks showing up in the background. That's perfect. Okay, so now I can click off of it or just hit Command D and it'll deselect. Okay, and now all I'm doing is saving it, and I want to save it as a special file. This file that we're going to save it as is a TIFF file. So I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to name it something. So for Caden's, I'm going to name it Caden. He's in our 5th hour, so I'm going to do 5th hour on it, and then I'm going to put Scan on here, okay? Then what I'm going to do is, instead of it being a PSD, I've got to change where I'm going to save it as, what format I'm going to save it as. So I'm going to save it to my desktop, and instead of Photoshop, which is PSD, I'm going to save it as a TIFF file, T-I-F-F, okay? Shows up like that, all right? This is exactly how you should be saving it. I'm going to hit Save. Don't worry about any of this stuff. You're just going to hit OK. You're just going to hit OK. All right. So now I'm going to close out of this. So once I close out Photoshop, I will see my scanned file here, the TIFF file. All right. Now I'm going to look for Adobe Illustrator next. So I can go back up here and I'm looking for Illustrator CC. So Illustrator CC, okay? And that's Creative Cloud. That's the new version. So we are going to click that open. And once we do that, I should be able to go right down here. Back to my file, I'm going to just drag it into Illustrator so that it opens. Don't worry about any of this. Just go ahead and hit OK. Okay, so once it opens, you are going to select the image in Illustrator. Once you select it, something's going to show up over here. You're looking for the image trace option, so you're going to hold it down, or click it, sorry, not hold it down, but just click it. And then you're going to select the 16 color option. It's going to try to turn this into an image that's illustrated. Okay, once it's done its job, you can see that it's turned it into an illustration, which is really cool. So now we're going to go down where it says hit expand. Okay, so when we hit expand, after we do that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to also hit ungroup. Okay, so down by the expand option, there was a quick actions called ungroup. We're going to ungroup it. Now, we're going to click off of it, click somewhere into the gray. So once I click the gray, now I can select the background. So right now, you're going to see that there's this white is back, okay? But I'm going to just delete it, okay? So you can either pull it over and delete it, or just when you select it and delete it, you'll see it. Now, what I'd like you to do next is you're going to create a new layer, and you're going, in order to see if there's any other white in the background. So if I go to the layers option up here at the top, I'm going to hit layers, and I'm going to go down at the bottom, and on this little thing right here, it says create new layer. I'm going to click it. I'm going to name this layer background. Okay. Now the background layer, I want that to be underneath. So I'm going to actually pull that layer down underneath the first layer. Okay, so once I pull that down, then what I'm going to do is on the left side of the panel, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to change this fill color for a second. I'm going to double click it. It's going to give me an option to pick another color. I'm going to pick, let's say I pick red. Hit OK. I'm going to go to the rectangle tool, and I'm going to make a background color in order to see if I had left any white anywhere. So I'm going to just kind of fill my background with a color, okay? So now you can see in the layers palette that the background has its own little layer here, okay? Right now I'm going to lock that for a second. So I'm going to, if I click next to it, there's a little lock tool. I'm going to lock that in. And now when I go back over to my palette over here, I can use the top arrow key, the top left arrow key that says selection tool. And now I'm going to go back to this layer, the one that has my illustration on it. Look at, I can hide it and not hide it. Okay. Once I go back to that layer, now I can kind of zoom in and clean up any white spaces that I don't want to see. So with Cadence, he is going to end up keeping this white space. So I don't want to delete it, but if it was you guys, you would end up deleting that out. Now, once it turns red, all you know that it's actually clear, okay? So anyway, with Cadence, I'm going to go back because I want to leave that white. By the way, if you make any mistakes, all you have to do is go to File, Undo, it's Edit. Edit, Undo, it'll say Undo. This one says Undo Layers Panel because I had messed with the layers, but if you just go to Edit, Undo, or you can just do a Command Z. Command Z undoes whatever you just did. Okay, so for Cadence here, I'm going to delete this white space in this B. I can also zoom in by doing Command plus. I can zoom in, and then if I use my space bar tool turns into a hand, and I can kind of move around while I'm zoomed in, which is really helpful. I'm going to just keep selecting the things that I don't want in my picture. So right now I want to get rid of some of these objects. Now, in addition to this, you probably are all being driven nuts right now by it being not straight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to transform this. So I'm going to go to select all. Okay, I'm going to hold the corner down, hold the shift key, and then I'm going to turn my object. Okay, there. Now it looks a little better for us. Next step though is we are going to be cleaning up anything left over. Now you can see over here there's a spot that I don't want, so I'm going to select that. There's a spot here that I don't want, I'm going to select that. Now, in addition, let's say you have these weird little blips that are showing up in places and you don't want them to look that way. So for instance, I have a bunch of white spots here. Instead of deleting those out, I want to change them to another color. So I'm going to select the little blip that I want to change, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to use the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click on the color that I want that blip to become. And if you notice, it changed it. Now I'm going to go back up to the selection tool. I'm going to grab another little spot that I want to change. I'm going to go back to the eyedropper tool, and I'm going to click, and it's going to change that color. Okay, so going down here on Caden's moon, he wants this to show up white when it's printed. So if I tried to delete that, it would end up being red, and I don't want to do that because I don't want it to be red, I want it to be white. So instead of deleting it, I'm going to go back to that selection tool, that eyedropper tool, and I'm going to select the white color, and it's going to fill it. Okay? Now, once it's all complete, and once you've cleaned up everything, I would still need to edit this some more before it was completely done. But there's one other option to do this as well, other ways to clean this up. Let's say I don't want, see how there's a bunch of different blacks showing up? Let's say I want there to be one solid black color. What I can do is I can select one of the colors that I don't like. So let's say it's this gray color, okay? Now what's kind of fun about this, I'm going to show you zoomed out. I can go to select, I can go to same, I can go to fill and stroke, select, same, fill and stroke, click it, it's going to select all the colors that are that gray color. I can then go back to my eyedropper tool, and then I can choose one of my darker colors that I like better, and if I click off of it, all those gray colors became a darker gray color. Okay, so if I like that darker color, I can then keep going, so I can say, okay, I'm going to select that color, I'm going to go to select, I'm going to go to same, fill and stroke, and now I'm going to go back to my eyedropper tool, and I'm going to hit that darker color again. So now I'm starting to see that more solid looking black color. Here's a light gray color, select, same, fill and stroke. It's going to select all those light grays. I'm going to go to my dark color, and now it's filled it in. So you can see how that looks, okay? All right, so now for the final step. Once you've edited it and you like the way it looks, you need to get rid of this background, okay? So we are going to just select the background color, and we're just going to go down to the bottom where it says delete selection, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete it, okay? Once that's done, you're all set. You're going to name it File, save as, and you're going to name it as your name, your hour, and then it's going to say final on it. Go ahead and leave it as an Adobe Illustrator file. Go ahead and put it right on your desktop. Hit save. Don't worry about any of this. Hit save. Hit OK. When you close this out, then you're going to go to your Schoology page. And when it says to 5th hour scanned images, you're going to go here. And in all actuality, let me see here. You actually want to go back one. Sorry about that. You actually want to go to your tattoo, this file where it says, I'm gonna write a new folder, and I will place this on Schoology. New folder that says finished art, create. So now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to upload my file to here. So this is the one, the AI file. I'm just going to drag it right in there. It's going to upload it, and now it's complete, and it's ready for me to print it.